And there we go. All right, so this meeting is for business math, BADM 1005. We are meeting today for a regular class period on February 23rd at 8 a.m. And we have, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that we can take a look at our Moodle page and where we are. But basically what's going on today is we have finished chapter 5. So I'm going to take questions up through and including chapter 5. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about chapter 6 today. So the assignment for chapter 5, homework number 5, will be due this Friday. And I got caught up on my grading this weekend. So if you've turned anything in the past couple of days, it may not be graded yet. But as I grade things, I enter the grades into the Moodle grade book. So we should have an up-to-the-minute record of what's going on. I'll enter an attendance grade for each of you at midterm before I submit midterm grades, just as sort of a checkpoint as to where we are. But the quiz and the homeworks will all be graded as they come in. And then the last point, we've talked about this several times, but the last point is when you, oh, I got somebody else, Skylar Hawkins. There we go. The last point is when you turn in your homework, if your homework is late, it's fine. It's still, you still have an opportunity for full credit on the homework. So the only date that's quite firm is when we have our midterm exam, which will be in 2 weeks on March 9th at 8 a.m. in our regular classroom. And that will cover chapters 1 through 6 of your textbook. So the other piece of good news is we'll be covering chapter 6 today, which is the last chapter before the midterm. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the waiting room so that if anybody else joins us, they'll just be able to come in without having to wait for me to let them in. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Jamie.
I was making notes and I missed where you said that the only date that's firm is the midterm in 2 weeks. What do you mean by that? Like that's the only day, no extensions, that sort of thing?
Right. Unless there's like an I mean, the usual suspects, right? Those are still in place. Like if you're ill or if some event happens in your life. But the other homework dates, I just assume that you guys are running your own business and I'm here to help you. So if you need to be a couple days late, there's no harm, no foul. But on the 9th, I want everybody to be in that classroom taking the midterm exam or with their person, you know, if you're taking it elsewhere with a proctor, unless you have what would normally be a valid reason for not being there. So,
got it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
I always, you know, and the other part is, and I'm really glad to have an opportunity to say this. I'm always very willing to work with students. You know, I mean, I feel like the goal for all of us, for you and for me, is for you guys to succeed. I've had classes, I mean, not this class particularly, but I've had classes where I've had two classes where everybody got an A. I mean, that's over a long period of time, but that's really exciting to me. I don't feel any desire to make sure that somebody gets a C or whatever. You know, if everybody does A work, I want everybody to get an A. So whatever I can do to facilitate that, that's what I'm here for. Okay. Yeah. All right, good. So let's take another look at the screen. I want to take a look. I'm working on my laptop computer today, so everything's a little bit different, but I'm going to go ahead and share the screen for, oh wait, before I do this, let me do this. I was going to share the screen for chapter 6, but let me talk about prior to that. Before chapter 6, does anybody have any questions on the homework for chapter 5 or anything prior to that? Okay, I don't see any mics coming off, so I guess we're okay. Okay, so if you do have any questions about, you know, chapters 1 through 5, make sure that you get a hold of me, and, you know, we can work via email, or we can have a meeting, or we can work via Zoom, or just whatever works for you. Okay, so chapter 6, this is the last chapter before the midterm. And this is a continuation of chapter 5. In chapter 5, we talked about percentages, and chapter 6 is just an area of business where percentages are used a lot. And this is called, the chapter 6, the title is called commissions. So basically what a commission is when you either earn some money or you pay somebody some money that's not a fixed amount, not like $100, but rather is 5% of an amount. So sales commissions and gross pays, which is our first learning objective. If you were a salesman and you were working, say, at a warehouse, and a lot of times salesmen will have a base salary, which is how much they make every for a month, even if they don't sell anything. And then they'll be given a percentage of their sales as well. An example of this could be a realtor. Now, realtors sometimes don't even have a base pay. It's all based on what they sell. But let's just say a realtor gets $1,000 a month, no matter what, and then they get 3% of their gross sales. So what that would mean is that when they compute their pay at the end of the month, when their paycheck shows up before taxes and so forth, it's going to be $1,000 plus 3% of whatever they sold. So if they sold $100,000 worth of real estate, you would take $100,000 and multiply it by 3%, which is 0.03, right? And you would get $3,000. So in other words, the person for their gross pay, like it talks about in the learning objective 1, would be the $1,000 base pay plus the $3,000 commission, and their total pay for that month would be $4,000. So this is really common in especially high dollar sales. And some places, like I said, sometimes realtors don't even really make a base pay. They just get commissions. So you can see why they're very motivated to work with you in order to make a sale happen. Learning objective 2, this is all based on percentages. So we're going to go back to chapter 5 over and over with this material, but computing graduated sales commission. That means sometimes companies want to reward their top sellers. They want to reward their very best salesmen. So it could be that for the first $5,000 that you sell, you receive maybe a 3% commission. And then if you sell between $5,000 and $10,000, you get a higher commission on that piece of it. So maybe between $5,000 and $10,000, you would get 5% commission. And then over $10,000, maybe you get 15% commission. And this is also a really common way of paying people. And what it does is, once again, it rewards people for being excellent, motivated salesmen. So when you compute the graduated sales commission, in that case, it's easy. The way to do this, if you like Excel, this is a great application for using a spreadsheet. You don't have to in any way. All you have to do is to write out a table, like say Stu made $9,600 in sales. On the first $5,000, he gets 3%, and on anything over 5,000 up to 10,000, he gets 5%. So what you do is you would take that first 5% or $5,000 and multiply it by 3%. Then you would look $9,600 minus 5,000, so $4,600 is the difference, and you get paid 5% on that. So you can compute 3% of $5,000, 5% of $4,600, add those two together, and that would be the commission that he got based on graduated sales. All right, and so then the other part, objective 3, talks about computing sales and purchases for principals. This is another idea in sales, and this is also everything that we're learning here is stuff that actually happens in the real world. So what happens sometimes, once again, if we talk about a realtor, if you sell a home, you may have to pay 8% of the cost of the sales price of that home to the realtor for selling that house. But not the whole 8% is going to go to the realtor. Like, for example, maybe they have agents that are working for them, or they cross-list it with other agents. So that's to get more people interested in buying, more people seeing that home. So if a listing agent has a property that somebody else actually sells for them, they have to give part of that commission, part of that 8% to the person who actually sells it. So the way to do these problems is actually, I mean, it's very, very, this is the kind of problem that I always feel like you guys would be able to do in your real life, but when it gets into math class, it becomes more complicated for some people. But basically, you have to commit, you just have to read through the problem very carefully and translate those words into numbers. And every one of them is slightly different, but they follow the same sort of a pattern. So
I cannot express to you how accurate you are, because I look at this stuff and I'm like, what? And then Kim on Sunday was walking me through stuff and I'm like, oh, okay. So can we just do everything in sales? Like, can we just do it that way?
I love it.
Really,
that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. I'm so happy to hear that.
When you said that, I was like, yeah. And it took me a minute to unmute my mic to tell you. So sorry for interrupting, but it's so accurate. I was like, oh, okay, got it.
And really, I kind of feel like I mean, a lot of people in this class are taking this class because they're going to go into business for themselves, whether they're going to be, or they're going to be a bookkeeper, or they're going to be, work for H&R Block, or whether they're going to have an agricultural business, or whether they're going to be a photographer and open up their own studio. These things are just terribly, terribly important in terms of if you're going to succeed or not. Because a lot of people, if you don't draw a salary, if you are working on commission or working on how much you sell or how much work you do, it's very important that you understand how you're being compensated for that, because that's going to determine whether you're going to get to continue to do what you love or not, because we all have to kind of make a living. So, I also kind of feel like if you were presented with this sort of a problem, like if you, Jamie, for example, owned a small clothing store and you were presented with these things, you would figure out a way to do it so that you would know those things.
Well, and I tried to take this class last semester. I ended up pulling out. But where I struggled the most was the graduating commissions. And I'm like, I got this. It's fine. And then the way you just explained it, I literally made a note to go back to 10 a.m. kind of like, a few minutes into class so that I can write that down, because I didn't get it. And the professor tried so hard to tell me. And I'm like, I don't know, but you just explained it. And I'm like, okay.
Well, thank you. And that means a lot to me, Jamie. It really does. And, I think sometimes, if, and this is where I approach this class. And I believe that this is true, but because my background, I think y'all know, is in engineering. Engineers, the thing about engineering is we always use numbers for a reason. We always use math for a reason. It's never a theoretical thing. It's like, you want to count, you want to figure out how the weight of something, you want to figure out the cost of something, whatever. And so that's what I think with you guys as well. We're really focused on the business aspects of math, but it's still, everything in here is very practical. And when something's practical, that means you should be able to read a word problem and tease out what the math is out of that problem. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So thank you for the awesome comments. Let's take a look at this problem that's on your screen, where we have Karen, who is the owner of Willow Brick Farms, and she's been trying to sell a used livestock trailer and a used tractor. She's unsuccessful after 3 months, so she consigns it to Alma Equipment Brokers. It's a very common scenario. Once again, you put something up on Craigslist or Facebook to sell, and if it doesn't sell, you kind of need to take it to somebody like an auctioneer or an equipment broker, so that they have a wider audience and they're going to be able to get it out, but it's going to cost you. So that's what we're talking about here. So they agree on a commission rate of 6% of the gross proceeds from the truck, 9% from the tractor. Okay, so once again, we have a different rate on the, so we have to decide how much we're going to sell the truck for, how much we're going to sell the tractor for. Then the commission is 6% of the truck, 9% of the tractor. So Alma, which is the broker, sells the truck for $42,500, tractor for $78,600, and then they also have to pay $600 $810 to deliver truck, $835 to deliver the tractor. What are the net proceeds? Okay, so in other words, how much is Karen with Willowbrook Farms going to get? All right, so the first thing we have to do is we have to figure out the commission that's going to go to the equipment broker. So once again, it's 6% on the truck, 0.06 times 42,500, which is 2,550. Okay, and then we have the freight, because you know that's going to get paid for, right? So we're going to have to pay $310. Okay, or $310. Boy, I wish. $3,160. So on the truck, so we're talking about here, we started with a selling price. Somebody paid $42,500 for it. We had to pay the equipment broker $3,000, or Karen had to pay the equipment broker $3,160, and so she is going to get $39,340 for Willowbrook Farm. We do exactly the same scenario for the tractor. We take, only this time it's 9%. So we find the commission, we add the freight, and that's how much. The $7,909 is how much we're going to have to pay the equipment broker for selling the tractor. We take how much we sold it for, $78,600, less those charges, and we get this for net proceeds. So when you look at this, when you organize it like this, like I said, it's all the information is here for you. So what it means is that Karen is going to get the net proceeds $39,340 for the truck, and the net proceeds $70,691 for the tractor, and her check coming from the equipment broker is going to be $110,031. That means that the equipment broker is going to get $3,160 plus $7,909. And if you add those two numbers together, it comes out to be 11,000 and a couple bucks, 11,069, I believe. Anyway, so that's, and if you take those two numbers, how much Karen got, how much the equipment brokers got, it should come up to be the total amount on the truck. Yes, Jamie.
Why is she getting commission on the freight charges?
Well, she's not, right.
I would have taken that amount out,
right,
and then done the percent on what it was without that.
Right. So what it means is that in this problem that Karen had to pay the freight. Okay. So in other words, she's paying $25.50 for the commission on the truck, and then she also has to pay $610 to ship the truck.
Yeah, right. I see that, but is she not getting? Is the broker not getting the commission on the freight too?
No, the broker is getting all of the freight. The broker is actually charging Karen for the freight. So yeah, it's not a percentage. It's just the total amount.
I guess I misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah, no, and that's it. See, and that's a very good point, because when you read through the problem, that's not 100% clear, is it? But
no,
so you would have to,
I would have done whatever the price. I just went to scroll down, like I could see the whole page. I would have done the 42,500 minus the 610.
Yes.
And then did the commission on the 6% commission or whatever it was on that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, and the commission is based on the sales price of the truck. The freight is kind of like a charge that's required.
It's just a shipping charge, right?
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So in this, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and those are the sort of things that you can sometimes negotiate with an equipment broker, but I think in general they're going to pass that cost directly on to the person that owns the equipment.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So very good question. And so then here's this, these are the things this is the part that is interesting also, because you just take those numbers that you came up with and you come up with an account of sales, which just shows what Alma's going to get and what the freight company is. It doesn't really say what the freight companies take or what the broker is taking out, but it just puts everything together in one place. And then that's what you would send to Karen at Willowbrook Farms in order to document that sale. All right, so once again, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here for just a second. Once again, the most important thing here is to make sure that you read that problem very carefully and to make those decisions about how to translate those words into the numbers. Okay, do you guys have any questions at this point? All right, you guys are too easy. That's awesome. So what I'm gonna do, it's only 8:25 right now, 8:22. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna quit lecturing, but I'm going to be here. If you wish to stay and work on your stuff, I'll be here and you can just talk to me. But what I wish to show you is, okay, so let me scoot this over here. There we go. Hang on. I got to get this where I can. There we are. Okay. So if you look on your Moodle page, the lecture that we've just created today will be posted right here under the February 21st to February 25th tab. So that, even though it's under this tab, it actually goes with homework 6. So what that means for us is that next week when chapter 6 is due, we're going to have we won't really have any new material. We'll spend our time together, hopefully in the classroom, but if not, we'll Zoom again, but it shouldn't be cold next week. We'll spend the time together getting ready for the midterm, which will be the following week, okay? All right, so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording, and